And I'm not muted for a change, so you know there's something different tonight. Welcome to Mondays with Max. Good to see you, everybody. We have a special guest tonight that I will bring on in a second. But before we do that, let's go through roll call. I know it's a little early tonight, so I may not have everybody I normally do. So for those that are watching this on tape, apologize for that. But definitely wanted to get this information out there. Anyway, so Crypto Tito, thank you for being here. I know you probably may be gone by now because you're catching a flight, but thanks for checking in. Appreciate it. Travelers Travels, Gordon Murray, Nick Riley, Second TL, Son of a Rabbit, Patty Whack Miner, DJ Mines, the DJ Mines, Geek of All Trades. Are you trying it out? I don't know. Am I? Automatic Beats, Eatable Zebra, Koinology, All For You Miners, Nato Crypto, Jean-Francois, aka JFA, IJFA, nice. Or is this a different Jean-Francois? I think, anyway, whatever. Well, I guess I'll find out if the other one shows up. Burn, Steven Cicero, Dakar Tech, Scott Sheffield, Integra Guy. Oh, I hate it when it jumps like that. Integra Guy, T-Dub, T-Gig. Funny how those went one right after the other. Bad Ace. I haven't seen you around. Good to have you here. Duke Nukem. Black Hat Team. Na City. Neil Scully. Chuck Danger. Hot Crypto Mining in the house. Chump Change in the house. Let's see. I think that pretty much gets 10 min to midnight. Killer 65 Malibu Gaming, The Toxic Miner, Turtle Tech, Aragorn Strider, Nick G. Alrighty, and Do It All For You Miner says, hit that like button, please. All right, guys. I hope you guys are all doing good tonight. I am somewhat. It's weird, not under the weather, but just it's sinus things, it's allergies, change in weather, pressure, all that kind of stuff. Got my right ear like all kind of messed up. This actually feels good, actually having the earbud in, believe it or not. But anyway, good to see you guys. Let me see some of the comments real quick. Game Geek of All Trades, watching it on tape. What is this? The 90s? That's how you can tell I'm got a few years on some of you. That's for sure. Chuck Danger said this is perfect time to stream. Yeah, I may try to move to 7:30 if I can, especially if I can get out of work at a decent time. Actually, I had to come home a little bit early today because I had Comcast showing up, and of course, Sunflower Mama comes home. She beat me by like, I don't know, 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, because she was pulling on the driveway as I was coming home. So we were both home relatively early. Guy was supposed to be here between 3 and 5, shows up about 4:15. But when she was coming home, she saw a Comcast truck parked basically where they park in order to go down to the node. How convenient was that then the guy shows up and everything's perfect. And I told him, I said, by the way, there was a guy at the node. I said, was that you? He's like, no. And I said, well, it seems like they fixed it. But anyway, good news is it's fixed. Shouldn't have any streaming problems. So that is a very good thing. And Geek of All Trades says, here working on data center license reporting, but I'm listening in. Wow, that sounds exciting, Geek of All Trades. I can tell you are riveted on that. I'm hoping that we can at least entertain you a little bit tonight. All right, well, let me bring in our special guest, which is Jefke. Oh, I was like, wait a minute, where is he? There he is. How you doing, Jefke?
Evening. Long-time viewer, first-time caller.
You've been on this show before. It's been a while, though. It has been a while. Yeah, you've been on here before. It's been a while, but you have been on here before. But again, appreciate you coming on such short notice. So why don't you tell us what came out today?
Well, you tell me. Apparently, we released a document today. Basically, just a high-level overview of the economics on how this is all going to play out. And yeah, like Fire away. Questions,
Okay.
comments.
Well,
This is a living document, so this is literally
yeah.
and yes, I'm not in a suit. I've been wearing a suit all week long. Last week, so yes, I am wearing a proud Back to the Future shirt today.
Okay. Well, you know that the dress code for this show is definitely not a t-shirt. It's a
I know.
flannel.
And okay, let me see if I have anything. Mrs. Jefke, do we have any flannel in the house that I can wear? Apparently, that's the dress code. I missed the dress code.
I'm just kidding. You don't have to wear flannel.
She's looking.
She's looking. Okay. Well, let me
I don't
bring
know
up.
if we still have anything. Can you check? Anything flannel or square pattern or
Plaid.
plaid? Just plaid. Anything plaid.
Anything plaid would be good.
So I'm terribly sorry. I'm a bad business developer. I'm not even wearing the proper dress code. So I should normally ask for that. But yeah, no, it was quite the week last week. I always feel so out of touch when I do these trips, right? Like it's like because you're in that conference mode. You're talking. You're wheeling and dealing, and then at the same time, everything else is still going on. Like it's not like everybody else stops because you're gone, but I always feel like I'm playing catch up, kind of. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Understandable. You guys have had a lot of stuff going on, that's for sure. But let me bring up the document, at least a portion of the document, because I think this is just make it a lot easier to talk to. Well, not that way. That's not what I want either. That's not what I want. Can I do this? There we go. That'll work.
Yeah, that looks familiar.
Yeah. So let me see if I can zoom it in a little bit more. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger. So what I think what most people are going to be interested in, because obviously we're on the bottom lines and the right side, obviously. So why don't you talk a little bit about the Treasury Splitter and that, because I think that's where people are going to be like, huh, interesting. And I'll give my own take on it as well.
Yep. So for starters, he doesn't have too many tabs open, so that's a big plus, not compared to what I have on my screen here. So I think it's a generation thing, Max. Don't be ashamed. I have at least 30 tabs open here, and the missus can attest to that. Anyway, so the Treasury Splitter. Yeah. So basically, let's say the customer pays $100. $80 goes to all the providers, and then the $20 goes to keeping on the lights at Flux. That goes from wages, developers, conferences, sales meetings, dinners, you name it. Somewhere something has to be paid somehow, and so this is how we keep the lights on. And before I get all the pitchforks in the chat, that doesn't mean that we're taking it from you. The customer is paying. Just FYI.
Right. Exactly. I actually would, if I was helping write this document, I would say match the competition. Don't beat the competition. You can always bring it down. It's going to be a lot harder to bring up. So that's one of the things I thought of when I read this. I was like, why don't they start out 75-25? Yes, I'm on the provider side. I'd love to get 80% instead of 75%. But at the same time, I want to see the project succeed. And I know that this has been a lot of hard work and blood, sweat, and tears at this point, and now it's time.
But just to give you an idea, a hotel for a week at a conference like last week, if I wouldn't have been a good gatekeeper of our flux that we have, or our budget that we have, I would have picked a hotel right next to the conference, but then I would be paying $400 or $500. And if you see a cat just poke down in front of the camera in any second now, don't be alarmed. There's nothing bad happening. But I would have been paying for 5 nights. We would have looked at $2,000 just on the hotel before taxes and anything else. So we're trying to be good gatekeepers on anything we do. This is just This is a living document, guys. There's nothing set in stone. We can adjust this however we like. But this is the front facing. This is the full economics. This includes your FluxEdge. This includes your FluxCore. We are not charging you anything for FluxCore, so you're not losing out on anything there for providing the compute power. Max, I don't know if you've tried it out. I know you've been playing with the vast machines, but you also know how fun they are to set up. And I don't want to jab at them. Everybody does their own thing, but we
Right.
tried to make it as easy as possible. And that's been my go-to from the start. You install your drivers you like to use, and after that, I think most of it is all done by the FluxCore software itself.
Yeah, I actually did install. It was before it was 8 GPUs. I think at that point it was 4 or 5, but I did install FluxCore early on. And
one of the early versions.
Yeah, remember I was the one that told you. I said, "Hey, there's an advantage to having 2 GPUs instead of 1 because you're getting some." I don't remember exactly why there was an advantage, but so yeah, I definitely did try it. I liked it. I liked it a lot. But oh, hello, kitty.
Yeah, he likes to hang out. Whenever I'm in the living room, he likes to hang out with me.
Sure. But no, I did really like the interface, and I like the fact that instead of trying to compete with HiveOS, you're working with HiveOS so that people don't have to choose. They have a choice. They could switch over to FluxCore and just do their mining through there, or they could stay on HiveOS, continue working the way that they are, and also interface with FluxEdge.
And straight away we had people, jump on that. Oh, why would you do that? If you have ever listened to whatever I say, my thing has always been build bridges, be transparent, build bridges, find collaboration where you can. Can I go in a direct competition with HiveOS? I guess I could. Is that worth my time? Is that worth Flux's time? Is that worth the community's time to put up a full scale battle like that? No, nobody gets better out of that. Nobody gets better out of that. So to give you an idea, because other people always complain, oh, nothing is fast moving. But you have to keep in mind, like the HiveOS piece, I've been working on that since Mining Disrupt. To give you an idea, these things take time. Partnerships are. I had one partnership that was done in a minute, and we were like, "Yeah, let's do it." I think, and we both were like, "Let's do it." That was last week. For a big company, it took us a minute. But some of these things take time, and it's like, what are you seeing? How do you see this type of collaboration? Because they were like, we're not going into this with you guys. Like, we want to see something first. But the moment we started releasing things, and they were like, oh shoot, we might be in trouble. So let's talk. So we talked, and we came to a nice agreement. It'll be fairly easy to set up in HiveOS, and again, those who like HiveOS can stick around and keep using HiveOS, and those who want to try something else, they have an option as well with us. But there is no, if you're using FluxCore or HiveOS, I was going to call it Flex HiveOS. If you use HiveOS at that point, there's no, well, we'll pick this one before this one. No, that doesn't happen. Everybody goes in the same pool, and the characteristics of your PC will set you apart if people want to focus on a certain type of delivery. And people were laughing last week when I put in our Discord, hey, I'm looking for 1,000 4090s. That offer still stands. I'm actively looking for somebody to provide me with 4090s for a long project. Somebody wants to do some modeling on 4090s for 6 months straight.
So this just popped into my head. So I'm sitting here thinking that, well, wait a minute, you have like a team feature within FluxCore. So if somebody got a team of people together with 1,000.
Yep.
So,
and you want to make good money, you have an option. It's there. You want to be in early. Now is the time to do it. I'm not joking here. Like it's that's part of that 20% is folks like myself and others being able to go to these shows, to these trade shows, to wheel and deal, as they call that in
Mm-hmm.
England, to get the name out, to talk to folks who provide to folks who want to consume. So there's that piece to it as well, and it costs a lot of time and effort. It's yeah, I was gone from Sunday early morning all the way to, well, basically Saturday morning. So um, do I mind? No. Does the family mind? No. We love what we're doing here, and it's fun to see even at a conference like one from NVIDIA to see the benefit of what we're building out, and the need is there.
Yeah, absolutely.
As
Are
per
you?
O'Leary himself, what was it? 8% of the compute demand has been fulfilled at the moment.
Yeah.
8%.
Yep.
And it's what, $3.7 billion to set up a 100 megawatt farm, just to, because that's his business at the moment, right? He's literally
Mm-hmm.
building out these type of data centers. Just to give you an idea, 3.7 billion just for one farm, 100 megawatts. Yeah, then this is the time to get live, and yeah, we'll make it happen.
So, I mean, that kind of leads to the next question. So right now you have this one project that has this tremendous demand that currently you can't meet.
Yep.
Are there other ones right behind it? Because I think
Oh yeah,
a lot of people
yeah.
look at
I got
this.
two actually. One of
Okay.
them already. I'm probably already able to fulfill with some of the contacts we made at the convention. And that was the more enterprise type related card. So we have the contacts in that space now as well. So we're able to help with that. But I would love to see the community bring some of those A series cards online. I would love to see maybe somebody has access to older type of AI type of cards, an A100 or a V40 or something like that. If you bring them online, I'm pretty sure they'll be snatched up in no time.
It's funny how you mentioned the A100. How old is the A100? 2 years?
It's funny that it's an old card at this point.
Right. It's what I meant.
It's funny that an H100 at this point is an old card. But yeah, like get ready for the B100 and the B300. They're not that expensive, but the infrastructure you need to be able to deploy these type of things is just ludicrous.
Yeah, exactly. Then you are definitely looking at data center rollouts for those types of things, no question.
Yep.
Not going to be able to run those things at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the demand is there. But what freaked me out, and I knew this already from the start, is the periods that these people are talking, right? Like 6 months, a year.
Wow.
Are you ready? Are you ready to deploy your computer for 6 months straight?
Yeah, I am actually. As long as I know what I'm getting paid and I'm getting paid a good buck for it, no question.
4090, and don't quote me on the prices, and I know this is on YouTube, but I believe a 4090 goes for what, 50 cents ish market value?
On what?
Well, just in market in general.
Just in general? Yeah, it's, I know on Vast it's come down. Like if you have a
don't compare yourself to Vast.
Okay.
The problem with Vast.
No, it's true. Yeah.
The problem with Vast is that, he's asking 50 cents. I'll come down to 40 cents and 30 cents and 20 cents.
It's a marketplace. It's a marketplace.
It's a forced marketplace that way in my book. It's not a realistic marketplace.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because there's different strategies that go with it, and that is, okay, if there's not as much demand for whatever reason, obviously the prices are going to come down. You want to shorten your length of your contract, but then the people that are going to actually try to lock in a lower price are going to look at ones that are large. So there's all kinds of strategies. For me, I think that's fascinating, and I think it's kind of interesting. Of course, from a business side, I'd rather be able to lock in a rate and know that I'm going to be doing work for 6 months to 12 months, no question.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, we can talk more about that offline. But that's awesome news that it's not about how much demand; it's just about what you need to fulfill the demand. So maybe your 3070 on a single PCIe lane is probably not going to cut it for some of the things you're talking about.
Not for these type of things, but for other things, it might be just fine. And we can deploy anything, and the guys have been playing with it because that's the fun piece. When I'm not around, they tend to do things that I probably say no to, like focus on this or focus on that, and then
Mm-hmm.
they go a little crazy. So, but at the same time, I love when they do that. So they deployed straight up Ubuntu desktop. I think they're playing with Windows now as well within containers. So just whatever we feel like we want to deploy, there will be an option to deploy it at this point. But yeah. The economics, it's basically what we want to just showcase is we've been thinking it through, and we've seen what others do. But I'm also keeping an eye on what the market does in general and the compute market in general.
Mm-hmm.
It would be I don't want to end up in a vast situation where we basically compete against each other and we're basically driving the price all the way down. Nobody wins from this, not even the consumer, believe it or not. Because what happens is that everybody stops utilizing the platform, and at that point, nobody has compute power anymore, and that's another failed attempt on doing something. I wish Vast would put some type of limitations on how far you can go with the pricing. We will have that. So we will have a
Okay.
weighted system. Yep, it's a fully weighted system that basically takes a bunch of things into calculation. Um, I'll start with the fun one, bandwidth. I know that's always been a fun one on this channel,
Right.
um, but not to the point where you have to have a minimum of X to do your thing. You'll be able to still contribute even with, for all I care, with an old school modem. Is the chance big that you will be picked for something? No, but at the same time, I'm not excluding anybody. This is more about being able to provide, and for those who want to use it as is, whatever it is, yeah, then you do your thing. So, and that's been the goal.
Yeah. I mean, hey, at least I got 200 megabits upload now. Hey, I can run a Nimbus node legally. So,
Yeah. Let's not go into that.
no, we won't. But yeah, you can tell all your friends that they don't
So
have to
so
worry
let me
about me
let me.
anymore.
So I'll stop the programming. We were gonna slash his flux in half every time we detected it, but we'll stop doing it.
Okay.
I'll hold off the guys now.
Well, I'll have to thank Comcast for that because finally they rolled it out as a complete surprise. I'm like, finally. Been a little quirky from time to time, but I haven't had the flux node actually go down at all as a result, even though it's got like little blips of less than 100 upload now and then. But most of the time it's good. It's like it's like less than 5 minutes a day. I've actually now got Ubiquity Dream Machine, so I can go in there and actually see, what's going on, where latency may have gone up, when I might add some packet loss, where the internet connection may have completely dropped out, all that kind of stuff. So it's been reasonably reliable, not as reliable as I think it'll eventually get to. The mid-split technology is kind of complicated. That's from the tech's viewpoint. They don't like it just because it creates a lot more work for them. And I told them, I said, yeah, but keeps you employed. They're like, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, that's always a trade-off, right? You
Yeah,
want to see
exactly.
it all fixed and have no job, or you want to deal with it and have a crummy job, I guess.
So Geek of All Trades had a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do the projects pay out after the project, or do they pay out periodically along the way? And if so, periodically, is it like every 5 minutes, or I mean, how is that going to work?
So you'll see your balance go up. So you'll see your balance go up, and if you unplug your computer or you do anything, you get slashed.
Okay.
Like we're not joking around with this stuff. So you'll lose some of your funds. So that 20% now we're cutting in your delivery, and that's with reason as well, right? So people are paying pretty pretty penny for your service. If you commit to a certain time frame, you commit to a time frame. There's no discussion on that. Your liability will go down. You'll get less because we have to compensate the customer now, and I'm doing that with your funds. Period. There is no discussion on that. And I don't like doing that type of stuff, but at the same time, I am a dad, and sometimes you have to keep us. You have to, be firm on how you do things as well. Like you can be all nice, and 9 out of 10 might be playing nice in the sandbox. There's always that one guy, right? I see you there, Tanto Bang Ranto. I see you there. But at the same time, I don't want to be. We don't want to be ludicrous either. But there's some gotchas to it. Now there is different types of hosting, right? So if you commit to a timeline, restrict. If they're not doing the if they're just rent ad hoc, like they do, for instance, with Vast, we're less strict. But yeah, and I know Tonto, I'm not joking. I'm just joking around, but we're pretty strict when it comes to this type of stuff. We're trying here to create a platform where people trust the platform that use it. And that goes a long way if the providers do the right thing. If not, we're all shooting ourselves in the foot in the long run, and nobody wins.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. I mean, you have a customer, and that customer has a certain expectation, and that is especially if
we have a customer, right?
It's right, not just me. Right, exactly. Yeah. Good. Well, yeah, you guys are. I guess I look at it as we're service providers, and those are your customer. So I guess I look at it that way. But either way, we all have a certain commitment to the customer to provide that service. And if we are running a process that maybe, may take like hours to do, and then we cut out for 4 hours in the middle and we don't meet that demand because we dropped out for a long period of time. Yeah, that makes sense. Why they've lost all that time and that type of thing.
Yeah. And keep in mind, like if that's a process that, let's say it takes a week to run, and yes, Killer 65 Malibu Gaming, if your power goes out, that's on you. That is on you. That's not on me. That's not on the customer. That is on you. If you don't have UPS set up or anything like that, then yeah, power outages will hurt you. But that's with everything. That's with your Flux node. That's with a regular node. That's with anything you do. If you don't mind, you don't pay. You don't get paid either. But but keep in mind, okay, so there's a couple caveats to this. I'm not holding a regular person as high standard as a data center. So we have 3 tiers, right? We have the institutions. Those get the nice shiny badge, but they also pay for that shiny badge, right? They're the ones who have the backup electricity, the backup servers, all that fun stuff. I'm not expecting you guys to have that. But if you do the KYC thing and you are a proper provider, there will be a certain standard held against you. And if you don't, and you're just average Joe who wants to just provide compute power, yes, there will not be as high of a standard expectation, and the customer will also know this and will warn about that and all that fun stuff. But everything comes with a different payment schema as well. Like you'll get a little more if you do these steps, and you get even more if you do that extra step. But at the same time, you get paid more. Well, the expectation goes up as well, right? So
right.
There's more to it than, hey, I'm just mining now, and shoot, power went out. Comfy. Well, yeah, if you have not created any of those extra steps, then so be it. But you are getting less pay, and your liability will go down. So even if you're not that gung-ho on providing those extra type of information.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Scott A, no, 988 more to go, just to be specific. He was talking about the 1,000 4090s. Because I do have 12 now.
Okay.
Anyway, so
but no,
I'm almost
for real. Like, yeah, no, for real. And if you have somebody with large quantities, I think the minimum that they were looking for was 500. So we should be able to get to 500 as a community, right? Like that should be a goal for us.
I would like to see it. That's for sure. Anyway, like I said, we'll talk about that one later. That's that in itself is a whole rabbit hole of how can we get there and that type of thing. So but I would definitely wanted to get to some of these other questions. What are the requirements to become a premier provider? I don't know if that. Well, what are the three tiers called, and what are the different requirements?
So we have an institutionalized or premier provider, and then the KYC, and then the non KYC. But it's the institutionalized where we go extra ham, right? So internet uptime, and that's the 99.999% type of thing. That's what we are looking for at that point for those type of providers. And I've got quite a few already actually signed up for it. So we will have the H100s, the B100s, the B300s. They will all be on the network, and quite large providers actually, with a ton of compute power that will be coming to us. So so don't worry, you're not going to be competing with those type of guys. That's a different ball game altogether, because that's the top tier. We're talking 2-year contracts with these type of.
So what's the middle tier, the KYC? What's that requirement?
So the KYC, KYC is one thing,
Right.
and what was the other pieces? And this is not set in stone, so we're still discussing that. How far do we want to take that? For now, I think we're fine to start with KYC only, so that people know that the person they're renting this from is a verified person with Flux or within Flux, however you want to call it, so that we know who we're dealing with. So in case something happens, or we need to contact you, or something goes wrong from a payment system or whatever, we know who we're talking with, and we can sort it out. But and then the last piece is no KYC at all. That basically is anybody and their uncle. But we'll also basically will say it that way, that so if you're doing something medical, those might not be the people you want to run your machines on, because they might drop off. They had no intention of declaring who they are. And again, you're not forced to, so nobody is forced to do this. And then basically the medical pieces, I think, will run at least on a KYC person for training, for starting off, creating the codes, setting up, prepping for everything. And then the moment they feel like they're good to go, that's when they go to a long-term contract where they will rent 100 3090s or 1,000 3060s or something like that. They will be there. And like I've said from the start, so there's always that threshold where people will say, "Hey, I don't want to start with these big boy cards. I don't want to do an A6000. I'm happy with a 3090, or I'm happy with a 3060. I don't want to pay that much, and I just want to start training." And once they feel comfortable, then they will go a tier up. We see that with ourselves, right? When we're doing mining, you start with something simple, you get familiar with it, and then you start playing with it. You did that with the routers, and now you got your own Equibity. What's it called? Equibity?
Ubiquity.
Ubiquity. I never even heard of it before. So, yeah, like that's the same thing with us. Is that we want to gradually have folks get accustomed to it, and so on and so on. Now I see why no redundancy. In what regard? Redundancy from us on the providing side, or on you guys on the making sure you have the internet up and running? I'm not sure I follow the question.
Which who was the person that asked the question?
Son of a, what is it, Rebich? Yeah.
Oh, why? Okay, not why no redundancy. He was the last one to ask the question.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm not sure what he was coming at with that, but it was one of the things I thought of was, again, just kind of thinking it through. Will there be any like tiers within that KYC that are going to be based upon reliability scores?
Yes. Yeah. So you'll all have your reliability score. Will be even. We have it created as well, that we can actually assign stars, kind of like an Airbnb type of thing, where if you get 5 stars and you have 100 5 stars, well, guess what? People will gladly take your machine over somebody who has 1 out of 5 stars consistently.
Yep.
So yeah.
I look at it, because there's really easy ways of really going down the rabbit hole to say, make all these requirements. But what it really comes down to is, what's the reliability? That's what you're trying to get to with redundancy, having a backup internet provider, having battery backup, hook up outside so that if your power goes out, all of those things can help. But if you have a rig, and I use myself as an example, that has 2 crappy power supplies on it that makes the thing reboot about once every other day, well, that's just as bad as a power outage, even though you have that redundancy. So it all kind of comes together as a package and says, well, what is my overall what's my overall reliability? Because for me, hell, I had 2 years. I say this out loud. Geez, knock on wood. I had 2 years, and I say had because this was a couple years ago. 2 years without a power outage, any power outage whatsoever. So our power here is really reliable. Of course, we have high winds tonight, so my power is probably going to go out tonight anyway. But from the standpoint of that, it's really good. Obviously, the internet thing, that's probably an easier problem to solve, although my internet speed would be down if I went with like a wireless backup, something like that. But it, again, could get the job done in the short term. So there's all these different things you can do to increase reliability. But the bottom line is, what is your reliability? And that's all that really matters to the customer.
Yeah. And I see the question being posed, like, why is Flux not building that in? Well, we are, to a certain degree. But if I rent your computer, I rent your computer. I'm not renting a cluster at that point. And we have the option to do clusters as well. And then if one goes down, it won't be as bad. But still, you want that guy not to be paid the same thing as everybody else who stays online, right? Because he's kind of failing everybody else. So where we had 1,000 4090s, well, because Max now went down, we have 12 less. Guess who's not going to be happy, right? So, and I can't double rent everybody else either. And let's say that's the way we go forward with redundancy. Okay, somebody rents a 4090. I'm going to rent an extra 4090 on the side just to make sure that if Max goes down, I have another one ready to go. This is not the same type of business that we're in, right? Because then I'm not going to charge 20%. Then I'm going to charge 100% to be able to pay the guy next door as well. So that's, I get the redundancy piece of it, and some of that is on the customer himself as well, right? So if you build out your model, you want to make sure you have a certain call it like a certain checkpoint built in your software. If you're doing trainings, that if you hit there, everything else that comes after that got lost. Well, we have everything up till here. So there's redundancy built in on their end. Storage is another one. So if you write to certain types of storage that are not local but on a cloud provider via an S3 type of storage, there's options there, and we're working with a big player in that regard as well. So there's definitely options, but at the same time, it starts with everybody on this call who wants to provide. You have your own role to play. You have your own responsibility to play. If you want to play with this, like the same goes for VAS, the same goes for other things. If you're not reliable and your machine goes poof, well, your reward goes poof.
Yep.
So
absolutely,
it's as simple as that. So yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to keep going on that.
Okay, no, that's fine. I appreciate you being upfront about that. A couple of the questions I had though. So when I was looking at the diagram, obviously it's at 80-20, but that point in the middle says fusion. And I'm wondering if anybody else has the same question: are there fees associated with fusion that are above and beyond?
I knew that was going to be brought up at one point.
I gotta ask the obvious questions.
I left it in there just for this. Because I saw that myself as well. It's just it's not the same fusion. So don't
okay.
Too bad.
Okay, so there's no fees. All the fees would be associated with that 20%. Then it would be a true 80%. Okay, yes. Got it. Okay, good. Good,
There,
good,
there,
good.
there might be a small. We might charge a small fee when you withdraw for a gas fee or something like that. I don't know if for ERC20 that might be a thing, but I don't think we'll go crazy on the fees on that regard. I'll be very honest.
Again, this is an introductory. It's version 1. There's going to be more
Yes,
details coming out about it.
it's so we this is the intent is having that conversation, right? Go through the document, write down any concern, drop it in the AMA channel in Discord, or bring it up to with us, or DM me and say, hey, you might made a mistake here because of this and this and this reason. So there's things there that are always up for discussion, and even if that's why we do the closed alpha, that's why we'll do an open alpha. There will be things discovered that I didn't think of, and well, I don't do too much of the thinking, but that Alex didn't think of, and Lucas and the other guys. There will always be something. People gaming the system, people finding loopholes. That's part of the game. And we're well aware of that. But so far, the focus has been ease of use from a consumer stance. And I think some of the videos that we released, I released one to give you an idea. I showed that same crappy video, and I apologize again for the bad resolution that I use in that thing, and I couldn't be bothered to try it all again and record it again. But I showed that same crappy video to folks from NVIDIA last week, and they were like, "That's pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool. Like it's actually just 2 clicks away, and you have a full thing up and running." So they were pretty impressed. So yeah, the folks from NVIDIA are going to be playing with it too.
Nice. That's good to hear. A couple of the questions I had about the document. One is you made mention of that those people that wanted to either pay in Flux or get paid in Flux could enjoy a bonus.
No, when you pay in Flux. So if you pay in Flux, I think in the document it says 10% that you get extra.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
There will be limitations. So if somebody puts in a 10,000 Flux, I'm not going to give him a free 1,000 Flux there. So the guys were a little liberal with the percentages on that one. So I was like, guys, that looks really nice on a document, but let's be realistic on this. There will be a limitation to X amount of Flux. But it's, like I've tried it myself. You literally just send in some Flux and it does the calculation at the time of the receival. We look at the market value. We switch that over to your balance sheet, so it looks at dollars. So that and it's all documented, it's all logged. So if you want to talk to your accountant afterwards, so one of my pet peeves when I see a lot of these crypto projects these days, and I'm not naming them, but and some of them are really big. Just FYI, I'm not talking with the smaller projects, but some really big ones that are really skyrocketing at the moment. I've been trying now for 2 weeks to try and rent a cluster. 2 weeks. Well, that was prior to GTC, so 3 weeks. I have still yet to create a cluster with their system.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And the first thing they'd ask me is connect your wallet, and I was like, hell no, you're not getting access to my wallet. Why would I even do that? But that got me thinking. I'm like, it's kind of funny because now I'm actually going through the same motion as if it was a company doing it. They like, think about it. Like, hey, Mr. Accountant, sir, I know you're our CFO. Can I get a wallet from this website? And can you give me like a couple $1,000 that I have to then go use on an exchange, buy that same coin, bring it over to said wallet that only I have access to, not you, sorry. And then I'll at the end of the year, I'll give you a CSV file with the transactions. Okay, is that good? Okay, bye. That's not how the real world works, unfortunately. So with that in mind, you saw things like Google Pay and Apple Pay. But we do have people who will be using crypto, and we want to make sure that we nurture that. And that's why we felt like it would be a good thing to give them something extra that comes out of our own pocket. But if somebody wants to use Flux, by all means, use Flux. We'll give you a little extra.
So at the end of the document, it got my attention. It almost sounded like it says potential ideas in mind for FluxEdge Economics version 2. Customers can opt to retain Flux tokens in their wallet, unlock additional discounts, or receive cash back in Flux tokens. This mechanism may include the integration of holding tiers akin to Flux node tiers. So basically, you will be looking to incentivize those people that are getting paid on Flux to say, "Hey, you're going to do additional work, for us. Why don't you just, or with us, why don't you just put some money in an account, hold it there, and we'll pay you a little bit extra to hold it there." Is that basically what you're saying there? Is it on, and you're talking about on the payment side, not on the provider side?
On both.
Okay.
On both. So if you do buy a large chunk of a large balance, why not get that balance working for you? So there's these are ideas that are floating around, right? So instead of converting it actually to the dollars, we would keep it as flux. And if you have 1,000 flux, there's an idea floating around. It's not a leak. Maybe it is.
Well, it's there. It's in the document.
Well, but let's basically say we would give you all the tools to basically put in. Well, you have a Zell ID created by FluxEdge, so you have that already done. And the only thing we would basically provide, or we would actually do it all for you, is that a cumulus gets stood up for you if you have 1,000 flux, and then
Okay.
it spins up. But then the cumulus, and here's the fun part, the cumulus might actually be running on somebody's computer provided to the network. So somebody's computer that might not be as performant to do other work, well, we might utilize his or her computer now for a node.
Interesting.
Or we use it for the series nodes. That's the other piece that will come to life now with FluxCore. If you have 50 flux, you'd be able to run a FluxCore, and then you get paid a little from the hosting itself. So there will be, but to make those type of decisions, we want to see first the launch properly done, and look into what the effect would be on the flux economy if we implement these things for real. But these are ideas that we're floating, and we're pretty open about it. So these are things that we've discussed already within the team. But yeah, there's a lot more thinking that we're doing from a provider stance. How do we make sure you guys are taken care of, and not just making sure you're paid correctly and consistently? That's the other piece. But also, if you're a long-term provider and you've done this for X amount of months, why not give a badge of honor and give something as a reward? And the same goes for our consumers. You have to learn to grease the wheel to keep things going. And I'm using a lot of wheel terms. I've noticed this thing, wheeling and dealing, greasing the wheel. Holy moly! I've become a salesperson. But that's the reality of thing, right? So here's a fun thing. So NVIDIA has a gift shop at this conference, massive gift shop. But one of the little things that they were having in there was a ruler, and it looked like a little piece of a motherboard. So you had like chips on it and all. It looked amazing, like gold plated. It was pretty. They're cheap, but I was handing those out as if they were, candy at this point. Like I had CEOs come to me and like, oh, where did you get that? That's awesome. Like, oh, you want one? You have one. Have you heard of Flux yet? And then we started talking. So
Nice.
And yes, the cat is sleeping. Turtle tag. But that's the thing, right? So you use everything in your arsenal that's available to you to have conversations. But there's a university in the US that will be using Flux going forward. I'm not going to name who it is. But if you're at one of these universities, all of a sudden you might be looking at FluxEdge and utilizing FluxEdge as your tool to do your research and to do your calculations on and modeling and you name it. So there's I had we've done a lot of work last weekend. So yeah, there's a lot more coming. A lot more.
Very good. Very good. Before I forget, thank you, Man Cave Crypto. Thanks, Max. Great discussion. Looking forward to trying FluxCore. So cool. Appreciate the super chat. $20 super chat. Very much appreciated. Yeah, I'm going to get to that in a second. So the other thing, I just kind of to expound upon what you had said, I think anytime you can get more people to stake, and in essence, that's what you're doing, stake their flux, take it out of circulation, that's just going to be good for the price of flux. That's just simple tokenomics, economics, however you want to put it. So yeah, I think that's a great idea. It incentivizes people to lock up their flux. All right, let me go back up to the top. I know the next question I had was from Second TL. He said, what do you think the effective fee percentage is if you wanted to use your reward to pay for power or real world things, exchange fees, and or minimum amounts, etc.? Oh, geez. Thanks for the memberships, Jefke, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. That is definitely a second TL mining question. That's for sure. I'm actually scrolling. I'm scrolling back to see where he asked, because
I literally read it verbatim because I wasn't sure exactly what he was getting at. What I thought he was trying to get at was like what's the profit margin, I guess, is what I was thinking. Because he said, what do you think the effective fee percent is if you wanted to use your reward to pay for power or real, and where I got lost was the real world things, exchange fees, and or minimum amounts. I'm not sure about that, but I think let's just focus on the power part of it, like expenses associated with providing the service, which obviously is power. What are we looking at as far as like, for example, how much is a 4090 going to pay? And again, can't lock you down to it. But
no, I think the current market is 50 cents, so that's probably what you'll be paid at that point. So
okay,
and that's just what the market value is at this point. Like if I feel like there's there's a couple things, right? So I want to make sure you guys are paid correctly. I do know what mining is, and I do know the cost that comes with the electricity and all that fun stuff. But at the same time, I can't put $2 down for a 4090 when I can rent a H100 for 3 or 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how the game plays. If we feel, unless people are willing to pay for that, but that's not going to happen. Demand and supply is one thing, but realism is a third one, and you have to be real too. It's not because the demand is there for a Ferrari. Doesn't mean that we're all able to buy Ferraris because we all want the Ferrari. No, the supply is not there. But the same happens for the H100s. But the same happens for a 4090, because I still don't have my 1,000 4090s. I was hoping to at least get on the stream and get my 1,000. Clearly, that's not happening.
Well, we'll obviously we'll be talking about that. I would be curious to see if we could get a team together of 1,000. I think it might be a bit of a stretch. But maybe there's some people out there that I don't.
That would be awesome already.
Yeah. We'll. My wheels are in motion.
Yeah, but I get some of the question that he's asked too. Like, what is a fair fee? Well, the fee is not on you. The fee is actually on the customer in my book.
I looked at that. Like I was just looking at, like, every card's going to be different. Obviously, the newer cards are going to be more efficient. So when it comes to power, but like on a 4090, let's just round it up to 500 watts. You're paying 10 cents. That means 5 cents an hour versus 50 cents an hour. Your 10% of your cost is going to be for power. That's just a general round number. But like I said, every card's going to be different.
But that's the same if you have an ASIC, right? Like, yay, my ASIC is making me $40 a day. That's awesome. And then you get like 5 because of 35 goes to your power company. In the end, those are the guys who make the money, the power companies. Let's just call it what it is. They don't care what fees you're paying. They don't care how much you paid for your card. at the end of the month, they have a bill. That's how much power you consumed, and on they go. But yeah.
So Killer 65 Malibu Gaming, thank you for the question. Says, does internet speeds and ping rates make a difference in payments?
No. Well, yes. If you have a lower bandwidth, your weight will be less. So in that regard, yes, it does make an impact. And latency is a tricky one. But if you're in the US and you have a latency of 120 milliseconds, then yes, you're not going to score as high. Your latency should be about 10 tops. Let's be honest. If you're in the US, but if you're in the US and you're using a VPN to make it look like you're in Europe, your latency will be way up, and you're not going to get paid as much. So it's in our best, and that's why we put weight on that as well, so that we can fight those who want to do VPNs and beat the system. So that's why we put that weight in there.
Yeah, so
but it's not heavy.
Right. So that obviously is going to go into like what you're talking about with the star rating, like how you're rated as a provider.
Yes.
Makes sense. Let me see. I'm going to all the people that are tagging me. So if you have a question that I haven't asked yet and you want it answered, please re-ask it with me being tagged. Is there any CPU only workload options?
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah. And yes, there is definitely a demand for that as well. I see those actually becoming like a type of VPS type of providers even. I can see people, there's an interest for that as well. So where you have a regular server type that you want to rent out, you'll be able to put that on the network. And then people will be utilizing that as either bare metal or as a actual VPS where they will run Windows on or Linux. That was not a mistake.
Got it. Now, second TL, this is a good question. When do you think it will go into full open beta for FluxEdge?
I'm hoping it's not going to be too long, honestly. But I'm bad when it comes to putting a timeline on that. If I let Dan dictate, we would be live already, right? So just to give you an idea, and we could be live already. Would that be the smart move? Not really. I'm here to deliver quality. We're dealing with serious business here. This is not just your mining. It's not a fork. This is not we're going to try a new algorithm and such. This is the real world utilizing our systems. So we have to take our time, and I'm not taking shortcuts in that one. I've seen other projects come already and they're all live and they're touting, we have 200,000 GPUs. Congrats, that's awesome. Yet your project will never be utilized in anything serious because the technology you're using. And we're working on certification, ISO, all of that fun stuff. That's all in the works at the same time. And yes, those things also cost money, unfortunately. I'm working with TEI type of marketing, so where we talk with some of our potential customers that will be utilizing us and getting reports on their use case. I don't know if you've ever heard of a class ranking, but basically, how do you score compared to your competitors? And I'm dreaming big here when it comes to competitors, and you don't even you never hear me say we're a direct competitor to X or Y, but I'm dreaming big on this one. And I'm talking with some of the folks last week at NVIDIA, at the NVIDIA conference, and with some folks from NVIDIA itself. There is some support coming from that direction as well. So no VCs are going to start buying all the Flux up. That's not happening. They might have, but there's no, we are not doing the coin VC thing anytime soon or ever.
Thank you, Mr. Red Panda, for the Canadian $10, which is worth about 10 cents. So yeah, I'm just kidding. Thank you very much.
But you have to keep in mind that is quite the investment that Red Panda did there. That is at least 3 Timmy cups that he invested in you. That is quite the sacrifice from a Canadian to hand over 3 Timmy's coffees. That's how much he appreciates you, Max. So you have to keep that. You have to. I know it's not much in cents, but for one Canadian to another Canadian, that's quite the investment he put out. Plus
And
Timbits. I can't
right.
forget the Timbits. Sorry, Rick.
And by the way, for those people that don't know, he's referring to Tim Hortons coffee, which is like a cult unto itself. Not quite as bad as the Starbucks cult, but it is definitely a cult with how much the Canadians absolutely love Tim Hortons coffee.
Look, it can be a blizzard outside. There can be warnings. There can be no schools. We will still head out for our Timmy's, and the driveway will be cleared, by the way. There will be no snow in the driveway. You won't be able to get there properly, but there will be a drive-through where you can drive through and get your coffee. That is a promise that every Red Panda knows as well, but every Tim Hortons obeys to that.
Oh, and Overboard Tech, I apologize. Yeah, nobody's going to get drunk tonight because I'm not doing all the talking, so the word is not getting said as much. So for those people that come to my stream to get drunk by the word I say, sorry, that's just not going to happen tonight. So second TL, how much percent do you think is left of the 80% once you get USD in your bank account? The accounting, gas fee, exchange fee, withdraw. Oh, I see what he's saying. He's saying that you take that 80% and what other fees are going to go through that. As far, I mean, if you're talking about if we get paid out in Flux, so that's straight 80%, then the rest of it just depends on who we use as providers, is the way I look at it. You had said there might be a small. Yeah, I was gonna say there might be a small. You said there might be a small gas fee.
Yeah, that there will be a small gas fee probably for the ERC20 token, but other than that, I don't see we've never gone crazy with the fees, like with Titan as well. I think we had it a little higher and we even reduced it there, even though that fee wasn't even going to us. That was actually going back to the miners. And still is, by the way. Every time you do a payout, that's 5 extra flux for somebody.
So when you're saying you'll pay out, that we can specify whatever flux address we want. Basically, it doesn't have to be Zelcore or the new SSP.
No, any T1 wallet or T3 wallet address will be sufficient. If you go straight to KuCoin and you want to straight up sell your flux, it hurts my heart. Don't get me wrong, but you do you. Like yeah, I'm not gonna hold you guys back. So yeah.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, second TL. But appreciate the clarification.
I'm not gonna calculate in all the fees that you might have to do and all the percentages and USDT conversions and all. Look, what you do with your flux after, that's on you at that point. Like, or I misunderstood the question.
No, I think you got it right. I mean, obviously, if you go to some place like Trade Ogre, which has a wide trade, usually has a wide band of buy and ask, and you're just selling at market, yeah, you're going to lose some value there by doing that, a couple percent sometimes. And so yeah, it's just going to be depend on if you want to turn it to dollars or whatever currency you're in. It's it's all depends on, and that goes for any cryptocurrency for that matter. You want to transition one to the other. One thing I will say, I'm disappointed, and I know why. It's because KuCoin is not available in the US anymore, but I can't use Simple Swap or Swap Space to swap my my Flux anymore if I ever want to do it. I haven't done it in a long time, but that's unfortunate.
That's unfortunately something I don't control. Like I take it upon me every week to at least email 1 or 2 exchanges that are actually operating in the US, and for the record, there's not that many.
Kraken.
There's not that many.
Kraken would be great.
There's Kraken, there's Coinbase, there's Netcoins, right. And I'm a fan of Netcoins myself. I use their services; they're pretty damn good. But yeah, there a lot of, and I talked to some of these guys as well. A lot of these folks are so scared to list anything at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Coinbase, the Coinbase listings at this point seems to be anything that's somewhat related to their own venture. type of investment. So basically, they're only listing the things they're only invested in themselves,
Hmm.
which I think is actually will draw more of a attention to them than making it open for everybody.
Right.
But that's on them. That's their decision to make. I think the SEC will have a different view on that. Um, Kraken is ongoing. We're waiting. Same with Coinbase. We're waiting. And I talk with the folks from Coinbase on the daily, like for real. Like I have conversations with some of these folks. Um, and it's always funny too, because I asked them like, "Hey, when they have an outage, I go in the chat, or they already ping me. Don't even need to tell us, Davey. We already know we're down, and yes, we know we could have been utilizing some of your services. So they know they know. It's just yeah, these are decisions that are made in different rooms. Let me say it that way.
So Big Wooly, save your question for after the Flux, because I know your question is not related to Flux. So anyway, I don't think I know the answer to that question, but anyway, it's an inside joke between me and him. Anyway, good to see you here though, Big Wooly. It's been a little while. So what's the constraint to launch sooner? That's from Turtle Tech.
The constraint to launching sooner. There's a lot of technology involved in this, right? So we're not. This is not a straight up Docker play. This is not a um, just deploy the container and be done with it. There's a lot more to it. So we have to. We're working with our tech partners. I think we'll be announcing actually some of these soon if we haven't already. Um, and they're still working on a couple security pieces that we need to finalize. Um, some certifications that need to be finalized. Things that don't block me from doing the closed off alpha because it's we know who's all involved with that. But if we open it up, it has to we have to be well, we have to feel comfortable with it. Our partners have to be comfortable with it, and then at that point we're good to go. So there will be some red tape that needs to be cut first. And like I said, this has been 2 years in the working. Um, so we've done our due diligence. We've gone through all the different potentials and iterations that we could have come up with. And it's funny to see because some of these things that we see other projects do, we had similar ideas and we decided not to go that route. If we would have been lazy, and I'll just call it in front of everybody, if we would have been lazy, we would have said, "Hey, here's a fourth tier. That's now the compute tier, and you add your cards to it, you stake your flux to it, and off you go. Done. Bye." You deploy a Docker on it, it works. You run Jupyter Notebook, everybody's happy and done. And then a year later or so, I'll be getting complaints saying nobody's really using my machines as often, or what's the deal? Why are we not doing? Why are we not seeing any big customers come to us? Why? Right. So there's a lot of pieces that needed to be formulated. Conversations needed to get started, relationships built up, and all that. And that all fortunately takes time. And now the pieces are all falling together. So all the conferences that we've done came with some proper relationship building that I had in mind that I wanted to do, and now I see the fruits of my labor and Alex's labor all coming together. You've seen Max, were you at Mining Disrupt with
I
us?
was not a mining disrupt. No.
No, yeah, you left us. Yeah, I remember now. But Geek of all trades, that was the first time he saw FluxCore the
Mm-hmm.
first time. That was the early version with some of the early technologies that we were playing with at that point. You know what's funny? The technology that we were playing with at that point didn't make the cut.
Wow.
It didn't make the cut. So we were not happy with the back end of that. And funny enough, his name, his cat here, Juju. That's basically the software that we were using at that point. And yeah, that's the only reason he's still around with the name Juju.
Got it.
So, but a lot of the softwares that we've been using and talking to customers as well is like, this is the stuff we want. We don't want this. Like, if we want to do medical, we need to know for sure it's secure to utilize. There's no HIPAA violations. We need to be able to know if we're sending it to you, it's secure, it's safe, and all that fun stuff. So
It's
yeah,
actually honestly what I talk about a lot to people when I hear of decisions getting made in businesses. Identify the problem. What are you trying to solve? Understand what your customers want. Without doing that, go, hey, look at this little widget. Look at all the things it can do. Great. Let's deploy it. And that happens a lot. And it's like, no, we don't even know if anybody's going to buy it, what if they have these problems. We have only a basic understanding. We really need to make sure that we, take a little bit of extra time to figure it out. I've seen this at so many of the companies that I've worked for that deployed tools, and it's like, okay. And I've been like part of like a couple of beta teams where I'm like, okay, but what problem does that solve? What do you mean? Well, you're replacing this with that. I know what that does. I know that's what I've been familiar with. Okay. At a minimum, does it do everything that can do? Well,
no.
That's not the point. Okay.
The answer is always no.
Well, yeah, of course it is. But I'm like, okay, well, if it can't do that, then you need to understand what problem you're trying to solve and what the needs of us as being the people that are going to use this is. And it's like, well, we've been focused on just getting the data into this tool. Like, well, so now you got it in the tool, but that doesn't do anything for me. Now I need to be able to get the data out of that tool. It's anyway. I won't go into it any further than that, but yeah, it's time and time again.
Yep, I know exactly how that goes. I've been through those same motions. I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been the guy having to put in the software, and folks like you criticizing me while I'm putting it there, even though I was not the decision maker. But I know exactly. I've been on every level. The decision making.
There's a guy. There's a YouTube channel called Smarter Every Day. And this guy was invited to a symposium. I forget what it was called, but it basically had all upper executives from NASA to all of the companies that were providing stuff to NASA. And he was being very critical of how decisions were made because the decisions were getting made without realizing the ramifications. And once the ramifications were discovered, there was no further thought given because people were scared to raise questions that were going to change the direction again, because people have vested interests that have created this solution, and now they're going to make those people mad. So people were afraid. And his whole point was that, hey, this is the elephant in the room, and I'm going to bring it out to the forefront. And I want you guys to understand that, yes, I understand we're where we are now, but let's learn from those mistakes going forward. That don't be afraid to speak up. Anyway, Smarter Every Day.
Absolutely right.
It is a great YouTube channel.
Yep. Bang on. I've been in projects that, and everybody knew that the project was about to fail, and this was healthcare. That's the scary part. And we were all heading towards the canyon, and nobody was willing to step up and say, anyone, you want to hit that brake now? Because we're about to hit for that cliff, and it's going to get... Yeah, I'm not going to share what it was, but let's just say we would have made the news worldwide. Mm-hmm. So I was the guy at that point stepping on the brake, and that is not a fun place to be in. I can tell you that. I had project managers calling me. I had CEOs calling me. Why are you doing this? Why are you being a negative Nancy? And all that fun stuff. I've been there. But guess what? We went in a call, everybody quiet because the president was on the call, and the guy goes straight up, Davey, what's the problem? So I explained it. The guy was like, thank you. Everybody else, but these people stay. Everybody else leave. It was the last time I saw those folks, to be fair. But um, decision making comes with listening, and if you don't
Mm-hmm.
listen and experiment, then you're doomed to fail from the start. You might be lucky. You might be lucky, but if you have to take it and do the due diligence and evaluate. We did a lot of evaluating. Do we want to use this software? Do we want to use Docker? Do we want to use Flux as is? Do we want to, like I said, add an extra tier and just be done with it? That would have been the short way and an easy way, and probably what a lot of people probably had in mind that we should have done, but it would have not helped us or anybody in the long run. So we
Yeah.
went the route we went, and now we're completely code agnostic, GPU agnostic, provider agnostic, coin agnostic, so you can mine whatever you like. You don't even have to mine. Is it the true sense what we originally wanted to get to? No. Full disclosure, no. I wanted to have it completely tied into Flux, but then I force everybody again into that narrative, and that doesn't work in the real world, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all righty, let me see if there are any other questions. Otherwise, I appreciate all your time. Let's see. Second TL says, when will we see your 4090 FluxCore rig? Yeah, I we'll see. We'll see. Right now, I've got it making decent money on Vast, and hey, I got bills to pay. So, but yeah, I'm not afraid to change. That's for sure. Wherever's going to get me, and obviously, I've got an affinity to Flux. Always have. Well, I shouldn't say always have. Have for a while. So if I have a choice of whether to do Vast or Flux, and the payment was even just the same, I'm going to go to Flux. But we need to make sure we're there first. That's for me personally.
Absolutely, and part of the reason why we take it slow with the release, of course, at the same time is your customers, right? So some of these customers that we're aiming for are locked in. They're locked in for another 6 to a year. Hi there, Kat. But at the same time, there's other customers that are waiting and they're holding off. They want to see how it all deploys and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be a gradual growth. Don't expect from day one to be making the big bucks. It'll grow. It'll grow.
Turtle Tech, if you can clarify, he says, so like people, resources, we've talked about a bunch of different things. I'm not sure what you're specifically referring to there. So if you can clarify that. Second TL says, is there going to be some mandatory security things that will be needed for host on FluxCore to comply, or is it up to the host to decide when and if they do security?
Good question. Actually, Flux will warn you if you're not up to date on your patching. We actually like part of the software again. So here, I keep saying the same thing, but part of the pieces that that I wanted to nail down was the security piece. So one of our partners has a full intrusion detection and patching detection software that will be rolled out, and we will know exactly if you're up to date on your patches or not. And if not, let's just say your score goes down. Will that mean that you won't be able to be utilized? No, but you won't be on the top of the list.
Yeah, and I think from that standpoint, there's two pieces of security. There's protecting the Flux side of the network, and there's protecting your own side of the network. So you obviously are responsible for your own security and VLANing off, or at least segmenting somehow, however you decide to do it, whether you have two different internet providers, one that goes direct for your business equipment, and then one that goes for personal, however you decide to do it. But that's going to be up to each individual to do that.
And that's something you should always do. Let's be honest. Even if you're not running Flux nodes or anything like that, anything you do with blockchain, make sure you have that separated regardless. Don't.
I did it for a long time, but I've got it set up now. So that's what's important.
And so did I. And so did I. And then you get a scare, or somebody else has a scare, and hopefully you learn from that. And I saw somebody in the chat that I know was affected, unfortunately, by something like that. Yeah, like I've done my due diligence, and I probably went way too far, but at the same time, I can sleep at night knowing that it is damn hard to get to it.
Yep.
And yeah,
I don't think I've gone that far yet, but I mean, I've got VLAN segmented at this point. Got a lot of VLAN segmented. Mining King says, tell Jefke waiting for invite to Alpha Group. Okay, thanks. He's got some 4090s, I think, that are just sitting right now.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know. I'm letting him stew a little.
Oh, okay. Let's see. DJ Mine said, sorry if I missed it. Can we get paid in any crypto or a selection of coins? Similar to like unminable.
It'll be a selection. We're not doing the unminable. I'm not.
Well, but no, not that many, but it is. So you're saying you can get paid out in different coins?
There will be a small selection, yes.
Okay, fair enough. Will there be Litecoin?
Just for you.
Okay, just for me. Got it. You said
cash spot for actual fast transactions. There.
Oh, jeez. And Project Mayhem. I know it was. By the way, for the record, I checked right before the stream. Litecoin's still winning.
Is it?
It is. So Project Mayhem says, how will the renting economics work? Will people be able to rent your rig a la Vast or something different?
Yes. yeah, they'll be able to pick their machine, and there's other options as well. So.
Got it. Hang on a second. What was the other question that? Sorry, I'm looking for. It's below his. Oh, okay. So Geek of All Trades says, "Whoa, now wait a minute. Are you saying bleeding edge patching will be required? I stay one patch behind for a reason. Critical CVEs are different."
I know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
it won't be. It will never be the latest and greatest. But it will.
Yeah,
be
similar. Honestly, similar to like IT departments. IT departments never run on the absolute latest.
I know IT departments who do, and they
really
stick to it. Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
I worked for one, and we never had actually any issues. On top of that, we were able to sleep at night quite securely because we knew that we were on top of our patching. But we never did the patching on Patch Tuesday. Like we would always wait till the end of the month before we did. So literally wait the week before Patch Tuesday, and then we would. Any hiccups or anything like that, we should have been dealt with. But because we did that, we actually forced our providers, our suppliers, to do the same thing. They actually had to stay on top of their software. So it kind of came with the extra bonus that our software was validated against it. And if it wasn't, well, that was a big red flag on their part to say, hey, we might need to look for a different supplier. And then we get into the fun discussion. Why is that software over that software being used? But yeah.
Good times in IT.
It's always something.
Yeah, exactly. So I know we've kept you a really long time. I appreciate all of your time. It's been an hour and a half. I do have a couple other things to go over, but you can hang out or you can take off.
I'll be in the chat. And okay. like everything else, feel free to hit me up. And at any given time, I'll answer all the questions. Even if you do it in our Discord, I'm always there to answer the questions.
Sounds good. I appreciate that, Jefke. And thanks again for coming on late notice. Appreciate it.
No worries. All right. See you guys.
All right.
Appreciate it.
See ya. All righty, guys. So that was awesome. Really appreciate him coming on. A lot of good things coming out of Flux. And Turtle Tech says, wanted to say thank you to you and Jefke. Very informative. Yeah, like I said, I read that paper and I was like, I got questions. It's a next step, making it a little bit closer to reality of just being just everyday thing. I mean, can you imagine having FluxEdge available where you go onto it even easier than going on to Vast? I'm looking forward to that day. So, all right. On to some other topics. So the title of my stream, actually, let me do that. There we go. The title of the stream was "No, Not Yet," was because yeah, the transfer from my IRA slowed down. It was supposed to be in by last Friday, and it's not. So I learned a few things along the way, which was when you're transferring into another company and they don't have the same mutual fund securities, whatever, available, which obviously going into a crypto IRA, it's not going to have any of those securities. You have to tell them to actually liquidate. They don't do it automatically, which was news to me. I think that's relatively new because the last time I transferred an IRA, they did automatically liquidate all of your funds before transferring it. But I had a conversation with them, not this past Friday, but the Friday before, and they never mentioned it. They just said, yep, you're good. It'll be in your account in a week from today. And that was it. So that's where I put the fault on them. So hopefully by this Friday it will transfer, so it'll be in the account the following Monday. But I mean, I was ready to invest at 63. That's what it would have been at if it was, you know, if in fact, because that's what it was on Friday, at least at a time on Friday. So that is a big loss in my book. So hopefully we'll see another dip after the halving. So I'll have another opportunity to get something in at the lower 60s, but yeah, I don't know. Not sure. Probably just going to dollar cost average in and hope that there may be a big dip where I can put more money in as opposed to just the regular dollar cost averaging. So we will see. All right. So that was that. Like I said, I just had a couple of things to go over. And let me get this out of the way. So the other thing, which I find interesting, so I'm hoping that this will have an effect. So I put on their BTC options expiration end of week. So I started thinking about that article, and so that's going to be this Friday, is what happens at the end of expirations. It all depends on where the price is relative to the strike price, the average strike price. In this case, the average strike price from what the article said is at 67,000. If we are over that, which right now we are, we're going to see more people buy and then immediately sell. Because when you're buying options, that's what you do. You buy options. So you're going to take that option, you're going to buy and then sell so that you can make money on the difference. So that's what you're doing when you're doing that. So options, in the case of if they're in the money, you're going to exercise them. If they're not, you're just going to let them expire. So in this case, when you're going to use them, that means there's going to be a buy and a sell. So there's going to be a lot of volume, which could be good for price, but with that much sell activity, maybe not. So I'm kind of curious to see what happens come Friday to see if the price goes up or goes down. We shall see. Retro Mike with the $4.99 super chat. Thank you very much. Thanks for showing up for the mining community every Monday. Keep pushing forward and providing your community with your perspectives and all the things. Thank you. I appreciate that, Retro Mike. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And Joker Miner says, got my Hive Mapper today. Really? Did you pay $2,000 for it? Or did you actually get it straight from Hive Mapper? I didn't know they were actually shipping any right now. I thought they were waiting. Everything was waiting for the B, which is a new one. So hello, Zarkov. Good to see you. And last but not least, this one was really interesting. Let me bring this article up, because this one really kind of got me. Which is, let me share the screen. There we go. FTX customers in line for higher payouts as crypto prices soar. So what they're now currently saying is that customers are likely to be repaid as much as 120 to 140% of what their assets were worth on the day of FTX's bankruptcy, according to two people with knowledge of the restructuring negotiations, owning the rising value assets, rising value of assets such as Bitcoin and its stake in AI startup Anthropic. I thought this was pretty interesting because, wow, isn't that great? You're going to get all your money back. Well, not exactly, considering that Bitcoin was about 16,000 and now it's at like 70,000. So, gee, what would your Bitcoin be worth right now? So 70,000 divided by 16,000. So that's more than 4 times. So that 120 to 140% is way less than what it'd be worth. So let's say you had $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, and now, oh great, you're going to get paid out 12 to 14,000. Well, that's great, but that 10,000 should be worth well over 40,000 at this point. So they're making it sound like, oh great, and this is where the lawyers for Sam Bankman-Fried are trying to say, well, look, nobody's going to lose any money. No, they are absolutely going to lose the opportunity. No different than kind of, I guess, what kind of happened to me with the delay in the transfer. Now I'm going to buy at a higher price, so I lost that potential gain. It's generally the same thing, but on a much larger scale. So I found that this whole article, I'm like, did Sam Bankman-Fried write this article? Make it sound like it's a good thing. Not exactly a good thing. I'm sure if you ask people that lost their money, probably not going to feel the same way. What I do find interesting, this was later on, there were people that sold their claims to anything that was left for 10 cents on the dollar. And the people that invested in that, thinking that they might get something more out of it, actually are still going to do better than that 10 cents on the dollar. So now those are now selling for like 90 cents on the dollar, because there's still going to be time before you even see your money out of there. So for those people that want their money now, at least now it's going for like 90 cents on the dollar. And then they also said that they're going to be selling at least a portion of their stake in Anthropic and other companies as well. So that can help raise funds for creditors. Two other things I found really interesting in this article, which is the IRS alleges that FTX still owes them $24 billion. The question is the IRS going to stand in the way, because they are first in line for any claim to what FTX has? So are they going to stand in front of all the everyday Joes, everyday Timmies that lost their money and say, nope, the government's getting their cut first? That's going to be really interesting. It is the IRS. So really, I have no idea what they're going to do in this case. I know the right thing to do. And then there's also a claim by the CFTC of about $8 billion. And the question is whether or not they will also be first in line after the IRS to get their cut, or will they allow that to go to investors? So more to come on that, but I thought it was pretty interesting to see that we're getting closer. Oh, and then Sam Bankman-Fried is actually getting sentenced on Friday. It was a Thursday or Friday towards the end of the week. So we'll have that to look forward to. But anyway, I just thought it was a little bit of interesting things around FTX and people actually getting some money out of it, probably within the next maybe six to 12 months. Obviously, still going to take some time to make their way through the courts and the bankruptcy system and all of that, but eventually, people will get some of their money back. Pellish Miner says, "Good evening, Joker Miner, Geek of all trades, Overboard Tech, and Max Voltage." So, good evening to you as well, Pellish Miner. And I think that was all the things I had to talk about tonight. Anybody have any questions, or are you guys all worn out? Because I usually don't go this long. This is over an hour and a half for me. So What else do you guys want to talk about tonight? Kyle Rose said Timmy's won't see shit. I don't think so. I think they'll see something. There'll be a set formula. Again, anytime you have a certain amount, I mean, they had all these assets and now they've appreciated. So they still need to distribute the assets. So people will still see it. Second TL said, how have you been finding Helldivers 2? It's fun. It's definitely a fun game. It's one of those games where I don't mind dying. It's not that serious of a game. You get regenerated. I don't know. It's just fun. I like games where people are working together to fight the computer. That's what I like. When we did StarCraft and it was us against the computer, and we used to just, crank up the computer to the hardest difficulty to see how we could do. It was all about how much we could help each other and all that kind of stuff. So those are the type of games that I like, and that's what Helldivers is. Also, the other thing I like about Helldivers, I've said this about games, you won't see me playing any of these like games that don't have a beginning and an end to segments. So Diablo, for example, that won't catch me playing Diablo. It's just constant grinding. Anything that's just constant grinding. Yes, there is an essence of that to most games of gaining experience and gaining points and that type of thing, but you can still have fun playing Helldivers without that. So I don't know. It was just a lot of fun. I was played with King last night, and I forget who else was with us. There was another guy that also came to play with us, but he doesn't normally game with us, but he did last night. So anyway, but that was a lot of fun last night. Stayed up way too late, but it was a lot of fun. So maybe we can do that again tonight, but maybe start a bit earlier. That would be nice. Yeah. Sunflower Mama just said, well, then you better get off the stream. So, all right. Travelers Travel said, I won a green KS0 Pro with my meter box shroud kit. Nice. I think Joker Miner did too. That's pretty cool. Really, Big Wooly? I just described exactly that type of game that I won't play because I'll just... Anyway. No, I'm not going to play Minecraft. I appreciate the invitation, though. Very much appreciate it. It is a nice stress-free game. I don't think she was listening to me play last night, but you're not going to... I wasn't swearing. That's what she just said. Oh, and then what's great is my daughter's already been playing it. So she's like, I'll be your Sherpa, meaning she'll train me. So I appreciated that. So I'm sure I'll be playing some games with her as well. So again, I appreciate that. Tanto Bong Ranto says, how are 3 days of orders, months of shipping for Hive Mapper? How are 3 days of orders, months of shipping? I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean. Sorry. Joker Miner with a $1.99 super chat. I yeah, no kidding. So I went to University of Illinois, and the Illini are in the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2005. The first time in 9 tries. The Big Ten historically is horrible in the NCAA tournament. They did pretty well in the first round. They only had 2 losses with Nebraska and Wisconsin were the only 2, I believe, that lost. But the second round, I know there's Purdue and Illinois. I know Northwestern lost. I know Michigan State lost. So those were the 6 teams. So yeah, right now the only 2 Big Ten teams left, which were the top 2 teams, is Purdue and Illinois. So going to look forward to watching a few more games. Hopefully they play Iowa State. Just for the record, Iowa crypto mining is Iowa, University of Iowa, the other and lesser U of I. Anyway, but he's that Iowa, not Iowa State, for the record. Anyway, I appreciate that, Joker, though. Geek of All Trades, member for 20 months of OnlyFlans. Appreciate you, sir. Great show tonight. Lots of great info from Flux, but when Project Mayhem, that's going to be sick. And I love it. So Iowa Crypto Mining member for 12 months, F Iowa State. Yep. I knew that he does not like Iowa State. So, hey, he is going to be rooting. And this is what we always do as Big Ten people. We root for the other Big Ten teams. As much as it pains me, I will root for Purdue going forward until obviously they would face Illinois. But it pains me. Yeah, but let's see if Jefke is in the chat if he would like to answer that question. What was that?
The memberships from Jefke, don't forget to tell them.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I got to go back up and say who got the memberships from Jefke. I might. Nope. Doesn't go back that far, unfortunately. But for all the people that got memberships, don't forget about linking your YouTube with your Discord. That way you can get in on the OnlyFlans chat. It is for members only. And it is something I check regularly. Try to check it at least once a day. And let's see. So check my Discord. I guess there were dates that were put up for when the Hive mappers are getting shipped. So I will have to check that out. All right, let me scroll down. Ovalbore Tech, member for 7 months. OBT is literally crypto scum. OBT. Okay, what is OBT? I don't even know what OBT is. Have no idea. Yeah, I know. I will take a quick look and see if I can find it quickly. Let's see. Oh, he actually sent it to me directly. So order date. But see, that's okay. So that is for everybody that ordered and stayed with their existing the old version. So I think they call it HTC. I think is what they call it. So yeah, December 13th or before when you place your order, your estimated shipping is March. December 14th through the 19th is estimated to be April. December 20th to 25th is May. December 26th and 27th is June. December 28th through 30th is July, and December 31st or after is to be determined. So I know I placed an order for 2 of the Bs, and we'll see when we get them. We shall see, but I am looking forward to that. I use my Hive Mapper every day. And it's nice. It, between that and Demo, yeah, make a little bit extra money just having a car. So happy. I was actually looking at where Demo is right now. I make about I have 2 demos, so make close to around $50 a week on that. Now I'm like on the top level. I have like 46 weeks in a row being online with them, so that does help a bit. I think they might over exaggerate how much it helps, but hey, it's extra that I'm getting for having been on it for as long as I have. All right, let me go back to the chat. Show on here people asking what? Oh, show the list. Oh, hold on. Let me do this. Open in our browser. Let me bring it up over here. And then that'll work. And go back to that. And I don't want to remove. Oh, look at that. It's up there already. There you go. I thought I'd gone back to full screen, but obviously I had not. So there's the dates. Take a screenshot while I go over other questions, and then I'll take it down just a little bit. Joker Miner says nothing over here is mapped. That's cool. I know I still have some areas around here that aren't mapped. I didn't go out this weekend, but I may go out next weekend. Geek of all trades. My smaller demo stopped working, just won't sync FML. I believe that's the one. Doesn't that have to be synced up with like a helium device, or does it also sync up with Wi-Fi? Yeah, I like my unit. Just basically, that's the way to go. Set it and forget it. Pay the extra money to get the real one, and you make 3 times as much, but you invest 3 times as much money in it. So you only have 1 or 2 cars, usually, most people, that you can put these things in. So why wouldn't you go for the one that pays you the most? And the dollars to coins that you get, the dollars that you spend to the coins you get, is the same between the 2 units. You spend 1/3 less to buy the other one, but you get 1/3 the amount of coins. Yeah, I knew that was your question, Big Wooly. You're not gonna get me to read it on stream, but nice try. Hey, A for effort, man. A for effort. Let's see. Geek About Trade says, but remember, you only get 3 years of coverage with Demo AutoPi. Wonder what the connection cost is after that. Oh, wow. I forgot about that. You know what? It's funny you mentioned that, because that's the same thing you get with solar systems. When you put in inverters and those systems, they give you wireless coverage for 5 years. Well, unless the 3G gets deprecated, which is what happened to me, but that's right. I found a workaround. Hopefully there'll be a workaround for this as well, but we'll see. Let's see. I didn't read your other comment. It was golden. Fantastic. I got to go find it now. Where is it? Did you tag me? Oh, there we go. I did miss it. King of All Trade said, trust me, guys, the Discord VIP is fantastic. Thanks. All right, let's see. Anything else? All right. What are those dates for? So those dates are for people that ordered Hive mappers during those time frames. So if you ordered it before December 13th, you should be getting it like any day now. That's what that's for. All right, guys. Well, I have gone almost 2 hours. Wow. That's a long time, guys. That's a really long time. But I will be hopping in with the Misfit Mining chat here in a bit. I got a few things to do first, but I'll be in there in a little bit. So if you guys want to chat, come on in. Or if you want to watch me play Helldivers 2 with some others, I'm sure that will be in there. Come on in. Hopefully Mining King will have some time to do it. And anybody else wants to play, come on in and play. It's a good time. Alrighty, guys. Again, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. Thanks again to Jefke for being here. I really appreciate it. Great information shared. That was great. So again, have a good night, guys. Oh, by the way, hang on. Oh, that's right. That rounds to the 10, but I'm at 4695 before the stream. As far as subscribers, I am 305 away from 5,000. That big milestone. I would love to get there. I know ways to do it by putting out content. I know. That would certainly help. That's for sure. But anyway, if you are not a subscriber and you enjoyed tonight, please think about becoming a subscriber. And if you haven't hit the like, please hit the like on the way out. Again, appreciate it, guys. You guys all have a great night, and we will see you again next Monday. Have a great night.